This is TLV1.
TLV1 Radio.
Great mixer.
I like Tel Aviv.
This is still V1.
This is
Tel Aviv is a beautiful city.
Great city, great radio.
TLV1.
This is TLV1.
From the TLV1 studios in Tel Aviv, Israel, it's Louis Live! Now your host, me, Ari Louis. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone is well. We have a fantastic show tonight. MLB.com's Barry Bloom. Noah Joseph talk about the Formula 1 race in Jerusalem. David Dewey pick from EuroBasketball talk about Cavs versus Maccabi Tel Aviv. But we're going to get things started right now. Talking a little football, also known as soccer, from Maccabi Petah Tikva's PA announcer, Roda. Ellie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back. How's everyone doing?
Everyone's doing great, and very interesting story. A lot of rumors, and we figured you have the inside track. You have the inside information in the world of football. There apparently is a story that soccer legend Diego Maradona is going to be coaching the Palestinian national football team. Is that true?
Well, let's just say, Ari, that I wouldn't hold my breath. It's some sort of a gimmick. I actually, for somewhere I do hope it happens. Okay, just even for a few games, just for the sake of it, so just for the awareness part. But that's not something I would definitely consider that like a sure thing. Maradona himself really likes to get the spotlight, especially when it comes to controversial fields or let's say controversial topics, especially in politics, where he's involved a lot, especially in his own country. But, he just likes to, give out his political views on everything. So being a part of it as the coach of the Palestinian national team will definitely contribute more to the spotlights, but I wouldn't take it so seriously. And even if it will be their coach, I'm not sure if it's so much good for them.
Now, he has supported the Palestinian cause in the past, and especially during the war in the summer, and also was part of that charity match in Rome. That was an interfaith type of charity situation, but it's not like this is somewhat out of left field because he has supported the Palestinians in the past.
Right. Again, this is, I don't personally think that these are his personal political views. It's just that it's a very populistic, demagogue point of view that just like, let's say, celebrities in Hollywood that express their, that they feel bad for the Palestinians, for the people in Gaza, and so on and so forth, even though they don't have any clue of what's going on there. I think it's kind of a similar situation. But, of course, Maradona in some parts of the world is considered even more than a football player, even more than human. He uses, his popularity in order to, just let the world know a bit more about what's going on. And, of course, this side of the coin for him is a better one rather than to sympathize with Israel, for example. Obviously, you wouldn't have heard that Maradona is suggesting himself to coach the Israeli national team, especially during time of war. And I guess that his political views are, they're not really pro-Palestinian. Maybe they are, but not to the point where it's really crucial. But he will definitely choose their side even when it comes to like sports and any other thing.
Now, what's interesting, you said it would not be so good for the Palestinian national team to have him as coach. Partly, I guess, you're saying that because he's been a coach in the past and has not done that good of a job, correct?
Oh, yeah, that's an understatement. He's actually one of the cases where, much better as a player, not very good as a coach. He coached basically he had two opportunities to show his skills as coach. One, he got paid a lot by a team from the United Arab Emirates. He actually got a few good players there that formerly played in Europe. Also got tremendous amounts of money to be there, to coach them, to give them all sorts of, teach them all sorts of skills. But eventually didn't work out and even didn't win the championship in the United Arab Emirates. How hard can that be? With a lot of money, of course. And, of course, while he was on the Argentinian team, everyone remembers their really bad campaign in the 2010 World Cup, where they actually qualified up into the quarterfinal hardly, but then lost 4-0 to Germany. And actually, during the qualifying round, I remember a couple of defeats he had. Especially the most remembered one is to Bolivia 6-1. I think that's one of the biggest defeats Argentina has ever had, and it was during Maradona's candidacy as coach. So Argentinians will not remember him as one of their best coaches, and that's an understatement.
You know, we've seen it time and time again in American sports. Take basketball, the star player usually is not a good coach. Magic Johnson was a terrible coach, and usually the better coaches are the average players. I have a whole theory on that. But last question for you on this topic, Ellie. The Palestinian team is in the process of preparing for the AFC Asian Cup tournament. That's going to be the first time they've ever been part of that tournament, correct?
Correct. That's correct. It's their first time on that tournament. It's like basically you can compare it as parallel to the European Championship of national teams. Only that's of course occurs between Asian teams. Australia is the host because just about 6 years ago, Australia was also decided that they will play in Asia because there is no competition. In their continent or in Oceania, in that area. So they're going to play with the Asian teams and they're going to host this tournament. I'm not expecting them to do too well, but as long as they got there, Israel are yet to reach the European Championship. So, maybe they're ahead of us at this level. By the way, in the past, when Israel was still playing in Asia, the two Israeli teams won the Asian Champions League. They were Maccabi and Hapoel Tel Aviv. So who knows? Maybe if Israel was still playing in Asia, maybe we had the chance to get far in that championship.
One has to wonder about that, certainly. All right, Eli Roda breaking it down, telling us that basically this Maradona thing is a rumor and don't put too much stock into it. Maccabi, Petah, Tikva, PA announcer Eli Roda on Lewis Live. Eli, thanks for the time.
Thank you, Ari. Have a nice holiday season.
Thank you. Shana Tova, be well.
Shana Tova. Bye-bye.
All right, Eli Roda, everyone, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, the Jerusalem Post, Gil Hoffman. This is Lewis Live on TLV1.
Everybody get up, it's time to slam now. We got the real jam going down. Welcome to the Space Jam. Here's your chance, do your dance at the Space Jam. All right.
All right, great song. And on the line right now, a great guest, former host of the Chicago Sports Hour on Israel Sports Radio, and now with the Jerusalem Post. Maybe not as good as Israel Sports Radio, but it's still really good. Gil Hoffman, everyone. Gil, welcome to the program.
Pleasure to be here with you on the program, Ari Louis.
Yeah, so let's do this. So many topics. I want to talk about the Jets, even though you're a Chicago guy, because the Jets, 1-4, they're a disaster. Rex Ryan has been on the hot seat arguably for years, and all the pressure more so now. Is he going to get canned in the next couple of weeks?
Look, I saw them lose to the Bears in a pretty embarrassing way, and the Bears aren't so good this year, but after they had to have the slaughter rule of the TV stopping to show the Jets lose yesterday, I seem to remember New York fans being the least impatient fans in football, and so maybe in another city they would be doing better, but in New York, I think he's toast.
All right, and you would give the over-under of 4 more weeks? What would you say? When does he get canned?
Very, very soon. I mean, there was a pretty bad game yesterday, and again, my game wasn't so good either.
All right. Let's talk about Peyton Manning. He throws for his 500th career touchdown. I'm always fascinated with what his legacy will be. 1 Super Bowl win only, terrible playoff record below 500, but he will probably break Brett Favre's record, especially if he plays another year. Give us your thoughts on Peyton getting the 500th touchdown.
Look, I did watch some of that game yesterday. It was aired here locally on Middle East TV, and it was really fun to watch him. He had some bad luck with the Super Bowl last year, but they still are one of the best teams in the AFC, and they could very well be back there this year. And he's getting up in age. I'm 37 years old. I think he's the same age as me, and yet for a journalist, I think you can be a little older.
Right.
For a quarterback, not so much. And the fact that he's accomplishing this much at that age is very impressive, and I wish that my quarterback would be as successful.
Yeah, well, that would be an understatement. And don't knock yourself about your age, because you never know. He's inspiring all guys that are 30 plus, late 30s, right? Because if he could do it, then a lot of people could do it later on in life.
Absolutely, we have so much potential. We have so much still to happen in our lives, Ari. We don't give up on us.
Wait, hey, don't put me in this category. I'm 31. I haven't hit late 30s yet. No, I was talking about you people, not me. All right. Yeah, we're speaking with Gil Hoffman from the Jerusalem Post. Let's go. Clowney, he was supposed to be the can't miss guy, and he's only played one half of football so far. So talk about the disappointment with Clowney so far this year.
It's amazing that the Texans are doing very well without him. He was the guy who was supposed to resuscitate that team. Instead, the team is doing just fine without him playing, and more power to them. Their coaching is doing very well, and overachievers. That it's very nice to see an overachieving team, and he will come back, and he will be a powerful part of that defense. And the NFL has to be very concerned about the Texans and their future.
It's very funny because you see so many times these top picks, these number one picks, they can't miss. There's all this study, Gil Hoffman, for about a year, Mel Kiper, all these people, and then there are busts, and not that this is Clowney's fault, but there are busts that occur. Do you think the draft system really needs to be retooled, or is the draft system at the end of the day like going to a casino and playing craps? There really is not that much design. You just put the chips out there and see what happens.
Look, each team has a large staff of scouts and everything that are working on getting the best players. And I think it's too soon to judge this draft. The scouting departments have to do better. Look, the Bears drafted, 15th in the draft, something like that. And they got the guy who for September, Fuller, was the defensive rookie of the month. And when there were safeties and other defensive backs that were drafted before him, including a guy named Ha that went to the Packers, who actually did very well against the Bears, who we were kind of hoping they would draft. So you never know. It's not like it's skill.
Well, and it's going to that, Bridgewater, Boulders, and Carr, they're already starting quarterbacks. So are you surprised that they are doing so? They're getting the spot. They're getting the number one starting pick, starting job, so early.
They're all on bad teams. These are teams that there's no point in them playing some veteran that we already know what he could do. If you're going to build up your team, you need to get these young quarterbacks the experience when there's no pressure to win right now. And then later on, the Raiders and the Vikings could be good again one day. The Jaguars will never be good.
Yeah.
I love the people of Jacksonville. I've had wonderful experiences in Jacksonville. They'll never be good.
Are you going to run for mayor of Jacksonville? It sounds like you're campaigning right now, Gil.
They're so beautiful. Have you been to Jacksonville? I love the Jews in Jacksonville.
I have not. It looks like I'm missing out. Apparently, I have to go check it out. All right. I would say, to me, maybe I'd be wrong about this, but I feel like that Buffalo's the most surprising team in a positive way. First in the AFC East, where most people would think New England would be there. Am I wrong about that? Are they not a surprise?
I watched when they lost, so. And maybe I'm not the right one to ask about that. I thought they didn't look too good, actually.
Okay, see, I think that this has been I don't know what you would say exactly, but a fluke that they're 3-2. I don't think that will last that long. If people are betting on Buffalo, I would change that bet quickly. Let's go to the NFC West, because my Cardinals, they're doing quite well. Only one loss, and sometimes, what they do so far, 3-1, they don't get 3 wins in a year. Back when I was following them, but I think that might be a bit fluky too. I mean, at the end of the day, Seattle or San Francisco will win that division, right?
Yeah. Look, I'm very impressed with your Cardinals for doing so well without their starting quarterback. When is he coming back?
I don't know. Carson Palmer. Who knows with him? He doesn't strike me as always mental toughness and battling through an injury, but I am very happy they're doing this well without him. And I give credit more to that defense. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald has the star around him, and Michael Floyd, two of the top receivers in the NFL when they're right. But I think that's more Patrick Peterson in the defense.
Okay, look, San Francisco is not as good as people thought that they were going to be. I saw the Bears come back against them. I think that Kaepernick is overrated, and anything can happen. But I don't think it's going to end up being the strongest division, and perhaps there'll be a different team that makes it to the Super Bowl. It's definitely not going to be my team.
All right. Yes. Are they officially knocked out now, even, or are they? Let's see.
If you listen to talk radio in Chicago, Ari, you would think that the Bears have already been knocked out of the playoffs, but no. They are 2-3. They seem to lose against bad teams and win against good teams. So I wouldn't put any money on any of the Bears games because really anything could happen. Depends on whether they show up. It depends on whether they decide to play or not. And yesterday they decided to play the first half and not the second half. That's happened in other games this year. The Green Bay game, they didn't play the second half either. Look, things happen that no one should put money on. Our kicker missing a field goal. He hadn't missed a field goal in more than a year. Matt Forte fumbling the ball. Matt Forte does not fumble the ball. Some people just have really bad days.
Yeah, and by the way, whatever it's worth, I mean, Chicago 2 weeks ago was 2-1. So then things were looking pretty good. Probably in talk radio in Chicago, they thought they're going to the Super Bowl. Now 2 weeks later, they lost 2 in a row, and now it's, they're not going to make playoffs, right?
It's incredible. This is a team that you just can't count on. Nothing that it was supposed to go right has, and things that were supposed to go wrong actually haven't gone wrong. And so you really never know what you're going to get. I wouldn't be surprised if they win all the rest of their games this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose all the rest of their games this year. That's the beauty of sports.
Yes, indeed. And also, you're a beautiful man. I know you're very busy doing a lot of important political stuff, even more important than sports, believe it or not, what you do for a living. But last question, you said you didn't like Colin Kaepernick as a quarterback, underrated. Do you at least like his tattoos?
No, I'm not a tattoo kind of guy.
All right, because you're a good Jewish boy, that's why. Same with me, by the way. If my mom's listening, I don't have any tattoos that anyone knows about.
I'm a Jewish boy, and we should thank that New York Giants player that fasted on Yom Kippur. That's beautiful. He makes us all proud, as opposed to David Blatt, who on Rosh Hashanah had a practice. So it is what it is.
Wow. Oh, goodness. Oh, wow. Our next segment is about David Blatt. That sucks for him if he's listening. All right. Gil Hoffman from the Jerusalem Post, covering really important things like politics, but gave some time out of his schedule to talk sports with little old me, the young man, here on the show. So, Gil, God bless you. And again, thanks for your time, and shout out to Tova, of course.
Glad to help Shana Tova. Bye-bye.
All right. And quick correction, by the way, Gil thought that Colin Kaepernick was overrated as a player, but probably underrated with the tattoos. So I just want to clarify that. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side, EuroBasket's David Dewey Pick talking about David Blatt and the Cleveland Cavaliers versus Maccabi Tel Aviv. This is Louis Live on TLV1.
All right, partner. Keep on rolling, baby. You know what time it is. Chocolate starfish. Wanna keep on rolling, baby. Move it, now move out. Hands up, now hands down. Back up. Tell me what you gonna do now. Breathe in, now breathe out. Hands up, now hands down. Back up. Tell me what you gonna do now. Keep rolling, 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 rolling. 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 Now I know y'all be loving this shit right here. L-I-M-P, Biscuit is right here. People in the house, put their hands in the air. Cause if you don't care, then we don't care. 1, 2, 3 times 2 to the 6. Jonesing for your fix of that Limp Biscuit mix. So where the fuck you at, punk? Shut the fuck up and back the fuck up while we fuck this track up. Throw your hands up. Throw your hands up. Throw your hands up. Throw your hands up.
All right, got some hardcore music there from, I think it was Limp Bizkit, about breaking stuff or something like that. All my music, of course, courtesy of Tomer Gershman. Shout out to him and shout out to Sagi, who's doing a great job tonight. I've thrown a lot of curveballs at him, but we got this done. On the line right now, what can I say? He's the best in the business when it comes to covering Israeli basketball from EuroBasket. David Doobie Pick. Doobie, welcome back to the show.
Ari, this is such an honor. I appreciate you having me on. It's been way too long.
Yes, it has. That's my apologies. Every time you're on, I always say it's way too long, or you say it's too long, and so yes, I got to stop making that mistake to get you on quicker. But now that you're on,
this is your Yom Kippur resolution.
Yes, that's right. My New Year resolution is to have Doobie on more often on my show. That would be good times. So good times. Speaking of the segue, on Sunday, Maccabi Tel Aviv plays the Cleveland Cavaliers. Obviously not a competitive game as far as the score, 107-20. What were your thoughts?
80.
Excuse me, 107-80. Right. That yes. So they were a little bit closer. And my prediction, by the way, on Sunday was it would be 180. So I almost got that right there. But one of the things which he talked about is David Blatt admitted he was nervous before the game. He said that after the game he was nervous. How surprised were you that he was honest about that?
Not at all. Knowing David and working with him for half a decade, I mean, he come across extremely honest. He's very approachable. He's just that kind of guy. And I think he really spoke from the heart. We're speaking about the European champions, David's former team, coming off a tough loss. He coached probably 6-7 of the guys Maccabi has on the roster right now, so he knows what they're capable of. And having his Cleveland Cavaliers for no longer than 5 days, which is a pretty short stretch going into your first exhibition at home for LeBron's homecoming, yeah, I'd be pretty nervous too.
Great points. I think that's something people forget about. This was LeBron's first game in Cleveland since he rejoined the team, so obviously a lot of pressure there. Now, Maccabi Tel Aviv, do they have, I mean, I feel like they have a couple borderline NBA players. Sylvan Landesberg's talked about, he's tried out a bit for NBA teams. Maybe Alex Tice, arguably, I don't know. Were there guys in Maccabi that were trying to show off, hey, they're NBA guys, they're NBA scouts, and they might want to pursue an NBA career next year. So tell us a bit about that.
Well, I don't know about other scouts, but I can definitely say that former Maccabi sweetheart and NBA player who also played for the Cavaliers, Anthony Parker, who nowadays is a scout for the Orlando Magic, was present at the game.
Wow, okay.
And he did watch from the sidelines. What the NBA people probably saw from Maccabi was a great shooter in Sylvan Landesberg, who's 25 years old, a small forward out of Virginia. He shot lights out, 6 for 6 from beyond the arc for 23 points. But there's not much defense when it comes to Sylvan Landesberg, and that's what prevented him from getting more of an opportunity in David Blatt's system. That was a big problem that Coach Blatt had with him, and Sylvan returned to Israel earlier this summer ahead of his other teammates to work on that aspect. And he's still a bit struggling, but he is an NBA talent. He does have that ability to grow into an NBA player. Devin Smith, who's 31 years old, could have been, in my opinion, a perfect glue guy in a system like that Popovich runs for the Spurs. I think Alex Tice, who played in Florida with Chandler Parsons and Nick Kalaitis, was extremely overlooked. He came out during the lockout season, and trying to pursue that Israeli passport kind of threw him off the NBA radar. He had an invite to camp this offseason with the Miami Heat, but he was under contract with Maccabi, and I think he played a great game last night. He had 13 points and 6 rebounds, and he's the number one finisher around the net in the European continent. I mean, this guy's shooting over 76%. We're talking about around 60 games. So he definitely has some things to say. He had 4 blocks in the first half. Tristan Thompson, Anderson Varejao, these aren't NBA snubs. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of talent on Maccabi that can play in the NBA. That said, there are also a lot of guys who weren't supposed to be on the court in such an event. But it's preseason, and we can't forget Jeremy Parker, who also played for 3 NBA teams, who had his family in the stands, and he was definitely there to put on a show for them.
Let's talk about Pargo. As we know, Mr. Clutch, as we interviewed him 4 years ago, he had 18 points. Pargo,
Before
though,
he became to the nowadays Pargo.
That's right. Now, Pargo is probably really too old to make another try at the NBA, right? I mean, he's this is where he's at. Is that your opinion?
I don't think it's not a matter of age. It's a matter of mindset. I just don't think Jeremy fit in the league. He got waived off 3 guaranteed deals in 3 different teams, and with the money he's making right now, which he'll never make in the league, guys just learn that it's more of a situation thing in the NBA, and what he can make here and what he is making overseas, and playing 30+ minutes a game. It's a better opportunity for him. Now, he is a Chicago native. The NBA was his dream, but now he goes back and he says, "I've been there, I've done that. On to bigger and better things."
Again, speaking with EuroBasket's David Dewey pick here on Lewis Live. One of the side elements to this game was the element of protest. They were talking about Awada protesting anti-Israel group, obviously David Blatt, an Israeli, and the team Maccabi Tel Aviv, Israeli. But there were also some positive things. There were some Israeli soldiers that were injured, and they were there in the Cleveland Stadium in Quicken Loans Arena and got standing ovations. So tell us about that side aspect of the game, that there were some pro-Israel people in Cleveland, and it does have a good Jewish community, and they were happy to see the Israel side on that end.
I mean, when it comes to politics, there's always 2 sides to a story, Ari. You'll never get it right. I think it was nice that those specific soldiers were honored at the Q. I'm against the pro-Palestinian protest, obviously, that was outside the arena and that is waiting for Maccabi on Tuesday in Brooklyn. But this is sports. We have to focus on sports, and we have to utilize that to connect nations and countries and whatever political views people have. It's a diverse world, and I think that basketball can be a great tool to bring people together.
I like that. Well said. And last question we have for you. This Cleveland team, Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, Kevin Love, I feel like if they don't make the NBA Finals, they underachieved. I really, really believe that. But you're the expert, so tell us about it. Tell us your thoughts.
Well, I'm not the expert, first of all.
Humble man.
You're the expert.
I don't know about that, but
that's why you have the show.
All right, fair enough. I'll take it. But I still think, David Blatt is one of the better candidates they could have gotten. They got him. I guess what I'm trying to say is if they're expected to go to the NBA Finals and they don't, the blame might go to David Blatt. Is that fair, considering if they're not supposed to go to the NBA Finals, then he shouldn't get blamed?
That's a great question, and I think it has to be a tricky answer to this one, because the mountain of expectations around the Cleveland Cavaliers could be a bit high for Blatt to climb. They do have the talent to reach the NBA Finals, but I have a problem with the Cavaliers' depth. Okay. I don't think it's deep enough. I'm not impressed with the roster they put together, strictly for the guys coming off the bench, right? They brought in Kevin Love and Sean Marion and James Jones and the shooter Mike Miller. I mean, they have great pieces, but I don't think Amundsen, Dellavedova, and these guys are the pieces you need when LeBron comes out, or Sean Marion or Kevin Love are taking a breather. I don't think they have enough depth. With all due respect to Brandon Haywood's coming off a long injury, who knows how long he'll last. But this is the NBA, and the roster that begins the season is not necessarily the roster that'll finish the season.
Well said.
And I think that they'll learn that along the way.
All right. Well, there you go. I ask great questions. Dewey gives great answers. That's why he's on the program. EuroBasket's David Dewey pick here on Lewis Live. Dewey, thanks for the time. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
All right. Be well. David Dewey pick. We'll have to have him on, obviously, a lot sooner than the gap we did last time. All right. We're going to take a break. On the other side, very exciting. The Jerusalem Formula One race will be occurring this week, and we'll have that discussion with Mr. Noah Joseph on the other side. This is Lewis Live on TLV1. right, we're back here on Louis Live. A very exciting event coming up in Jerusalem next few days. It is the Formula One race. And here on the line to discuss that is European editor at Autoblog.com, Noah Joseph. Noah, welcome to the program.
Sure, having me on, Ari. It's a pleasure to be with you.
All right, Noah, let's go over some confusion because a lot of people think that this race, the Jerusalem Formula One, is an official race, but that is not correct, is it?
No, it's not. It's not an actual competitive race where you have multiple cars competing against each other for, standing order and top prizes. It's an exhibition event, and they hold these in places around the world on a regular basis, different teams participating. I believe that the Jerusalem event that we have this year is a bit of an abnormality in that it's a bit of an exception in that we actually have two F1 teams that are participating this year. They're not racing against each other, but they're demonstrating for the benefit of the gathered crowds. Most of these events, are organized by one team or another, but here we've got two F1 teams, plus some other race cars and motorcycles taking part as well.
All right. Now, one of the things I want to discuss is the economy, how this is a big deal for the Jerusalem economy. A lot of times the economy struggles. Tourism is a big part of it. How does this race help the Jerusalem economy?
Actually, at the press conference just earlier, Mir Barkat was talking about exactly that. There has been some criticism of the event in terms of how much it's costing the government. I remember last year the mayor spoke of the various parties that contributed to its organization financially. And, what the Jerusalem municipality had to put into it was relatively minimal. There's a lot of sponsors, a lot of corporate partners. There's, government support from the state. But altogether, I think it sort of adds to the spirit of Jerusalem and, raising some excitement for the city and its residents.
Now, I, of course, live in Jerusalem, and I saw that they've been building stands for a while. And in addition to that, they will be blocking off roads. Anything else that will be done to the city to make sure that this race takes place?
There's a lot of security here. There's a lot of, police officers and private security on hand to make sure that everything goes together all right. And, I'm sure it requires a lot of manpower, a lot of time, a lot of organization, but it's no different than any other event that the city would put on, like the marathon, for example.
All right, again, speak with Noah Joseph, who's a European editor at Autoblog.com. Noah, I'm curious if there's any famous racers. A lot of people like to see celebrities or the people at the top of their game. Any famous drivers coming in to Jerusalem for the race?
One of the biggest names that's participating in this event, as with last year's event, is Giancarlo, who is one of the most successful modern Italian Formula One drivers.
Noah, could you say that name again for us, please?
That's Giancarlo Fisichella.
Okay.
And he drives for the Ferrari team. He's retired from Formula One, and he races in some other series, and he does these kinds of exhibition races. He's won several races in Formula One in his own right. And he's a very accomplished racing driver, not a world champion, but the world champions tend not to make time for this kind of spectacle.
All right. Also, last year was talked about there were a lot of fancy cars that people might not see in their entire lives. What type of cars will be coming around this year?
Well, this year we have, like I said, the two Formula One cars from the Ferrari and the Caterham teams. There's also an Audi Le Mans race car. It's an endurance race car. It's actually powered by a diesel engine that won Le Mans several years ago. There's a number of Porsche and other Ferrari sports race cars and a lot of motorcycles. And it's quite a spectacle to see from the perspective of just the machinery itself.
Now, again, we really appreciate your time because part of the reason why there's all this noise in the background, you are live there at the race, and you're right now in between races. Tell us the atmosphere, the attitude of the audience there watching all this.
People have been pretty excited. I've been stationed over here by Mamila, just outside of the Jaffa Gate, and there's been a lot of excitement. Fans lining the stands, lining the barricades to get a glimpse of the action, and a lot of journalists here as well. And it's been pretty exciting.
Now, your role at the race is, in addition to covering it, a writer, you're taking photographs as well, correct?
That's correct. And it's been a very interesting backdrop to see the
juxtaposition of the modern machinery with the ancient city.
Absolutely. Well said. I like that very much. Noah, we know you're very busy. Last question for you. Last year when they did this race, there were approximately 250,000 people that attended. How many people are expected to come this time around?
I couldn't speak to that. I'm sure the police in the city will have an estimate of how many people came out. The event will also be on tomorrow, but I have no reason to doubt that just as many people have turned out this year as last.
All right. Again, Noah, really appreciate the time, folks. Noah did an amazing job. He is in the middle of everything, took a break from his job, but taking pictures to be on with us. So thank you for that inside information and being live on the scene. Noah Joseph, we really appreciate it. And check out his work at autoblog.com. He's the European editor. Noah, thanks so much.
Thank you, Ari, and thanks to your listeners. Have a good one.
All right. All right, Noah Joseph, everyone, quick break. We'll have more on the other side. This is Louis Live on TLV1. All right, back here on Louis Live. Great show so far, and on the line, also a very special treat. He has been on my program before. Always have fun with Mr. Barry Bloom. Right now, live from St. Louis, from MLB.com, Barry Bloom. Barry, welcome to Louis Live.
Hey, great to be on the show, Ari.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been too long, and it's great to have you on during the postseason, obviously. And you're in St. Louis. Cardinals and Dodgers. That series is tied at 1. Interesting elements. The Dodgers were considered by many the favorites. Some consider the Cardinals. Dodgers have that high payroll. And tonight, John Lackey comes in. All that postseason experience, over 100 innings pitched in the playoffs, ERA just over 3 in the postseason. Is it safe to say that the series, if you're a Cardinals fan, it's in his hands?
Well, I mean, no. I mean, really, I think that there's no predictability to this series. You have the starter for the Dodgers for Game 4 is totally up in the air right now. You basically have Dan Herron tentatively slotted in. He might wind up having to pitch tonight because the Dodgers are coming back with Hyun-Jin Ryu, who hasn't pitched in 3 weeks because of a shoulder problem. Now they think he's healthy enough to pitch, but there's also contingency plans that if he's not, then they might have to go with Herron tonight. So, and in that case, Kershaw might have to pitch tomorrow on 3 days rest. They might have to go with a kid named Carlos Frias. There's just a lot of variables here where, there's no predicting what's going to happen in this series, just like there was no predicting that Clayton Kershaw would have a 6-1 lead going into the 6th inning on Friday night and basically blow the game, and the Cardinals would win that one 10-9. So I don't think that there's anything riding but completely on tonight, except for the fact that whoever comes out of it is going to have a 2-1 lead with a chance to wrap up the series tomorrow.
All right, and let's go to the other side of the National League because Giants are 1 game away from sweeping Washington, and going back to the NLCS, they've won 2 World Series, not 2 in the recent time. They win the World Series this year. That's 3 out of 5. But before the season started, according to Las Vegas odds, they were 22-1 to win the World Series. How is it that they keep going under the radar and they end up in October with a chance to win it all?
Well, number one, it's an even year, which is kind of the joke here. I mean, they won in 2010, won in 2012. They didn't even make the playoffs in 11 and 13. And here they are back again with the upper hand to go into the NLCS for the 3rd time in the last 5 years. I mean, look, this is a very a very well-run organization from upper management all the way down on both the business side and the baseball operations side. Their brethren on the other side of the bay in Oakland, Billy Beane, gets a lot more publicity for what he does, but Billy Beane hasn't had the success the Giants have had. They've got a core product there where, their entire infield came up through the system. Most of their starting staff came up through the system. Their closer came up through the system. They do well sprinkling in the Hunter Pences and Michael Morse and, Angel Pagan, who's out now for the rest of the season, but has been a big player for them. They just are very good at building through their system, and they're very well managed on the field. For my money, Bruce Bochy might be the best manager in the game. I don't think there's anybody who can handle a bullpen better than Bochy. And in a year where, Kane went out for the season with an elbow injury and had elbow surgery, Lincecum is in the bullpen after pitching a no-hitter early in the year. So they've really patchworked it. The deal to get Jake Peavy from the Red Sox around the trade deadline has really been the pivotal one for them, because without Peavy, they wouldn't even be here. They're just a really good team, and I was looking at it the other day. The reason they didn't win the division over the Dodgers is simply that they couldn't beat Greinke and Kershaw all year. Greinke and Kershaw were 8-0 against them this year, and that's the whole pivot in the whole season for the West. But the Giants, they get on a roll. They did this in 2010 and 12. They sense it late, and now this is starting again, where they've won something like 10 postseason games in a row, and they've got a really good chance of wrapping up the Nationals tonight with their best pitcher Bumgarner on the mound.
Again, we're speaking with MLB.com Barry Bloom here on Lewis Live on TLV1. Let's go over to the American League. I believe and correct if I'm wrong, but I believe this is the first time since the strike that we have not had the Yankees or the Red Sox in the postseason, and as a result, we're going to have an ALCS of Royals versus Baltimore. It's not the sexiest matchup we could imagine, but for the true baseball fan out there, should they enjoy this series? Either team has not been to the World Series since the 80s. Obviously, their fan base of both squads will certainly be into it, so give us the preview of the ALCS.
I've been picking the Orioles all season. They've just done a tremendous job there, building a team there. The signing of Nelson Cruz for 1 year as a free agent in spring training turned out to be probably the best free agent signing of the year. That guy hit 40 home runs, pretty much a game-winning homer yesterday. They're very solid. They've got a lot. They don't have a big-name pitching staff, but it's a very solid one. Their bullpen is tremendous. Dan Duquette, who's the general manager, has done a great job, building the team. And, really, they're the inverse of what has happened in baseball, where guys who get qualifying offers, there's a lot of noise about teams don't want to sign them because they don't want to give up draft picks. Well, this guy basically said, to hell with it. We're going for it this year because of the age of our players and the windows. They signed Bud Norris, who won yesterday. That cost them a tweener pick. They signed, Robaldo Jimenez, who really hasn't had much of an impact. And they signed Cruz, and that cost them their first and second round picks in this year's draft. So I think that was a message to fan base that we're all in, and it's worked out for them. I think Kansas City runs into a buzzsaw with them. They so far, the A's, they beat them in a game that went back and forth. Either team could have won that game. I think the Angels' starting pitching was really short of all the teams that were coming into it. And, Kansas City's got a good young team built around a decent pitching staff, a great bullpen, a lot of speed. They don't have much power. Right now, everything has gone their way. They played tremendous defense in the Angels series. I think it'll be an interesting series. But I really think I picked Baltimore-Washington for the World Series. Washington is on the ropes, but they could still come back and win that series against the Giants. And, Baltimore, I think, is going to be there. I really think Baltimore is the best team maybe in baseball this year.
All right, now the teams that are left in the postseason, Cardinals, Dodgers, obviously those names have been there before. Baltimore's had success recently. Giants, as you mentioned. Kansas City, I find very intriguing, as you talked about, a young team, and also they're a small market team, and we don't always see small market teams have a lot of success. Is this a fluke, or will we start to see more teams like the Kansas City Royals pop up in the postseason? And if so, who are the next Kansas City Royals, if you will?
Well, look, to me, I talk about this all the time. The small market, big market thing is an anomaly now. It really doesn't exist anymore because of revenue sharing in baseball. I was just talking about this with a colleague about the A's. I mean, basically, everybody in baseball gets about $50 million off the top right now from national television money. That's all 30 teams. Then, you have a variance in the local revenue that can go anywhere from like $50 million to $150 million and more. And that gets offset by the lower end clubs, meaning like the lower 15 in the league. It's like the lower quadrant. The top half pays into revenue sharing. The bottom half gets revenue sharing. And, a team like the Royals or the A's can get up as much as $30 million or more in revenue sharing after the MLB coffers at the end of the year. So there really is no excuse in baseball anymore for the Tampa Bays and Kansas Cities and Oakland not to have a $100 million payroll. And there are rules in place that are basically policed by the Players Association. And Miami wound up having to pay some fines a few years ago for not taking the money that they're getting from revenue sharing and putting it back into the system in some shape or form. They don't have to put it into player personnel, so to speak, for the major leagues, but they do have to put it into stadium improvements, minor leagues. The money has to be spent. And some teams try to turn a profit by using this money. The A's at times have turned a profit. So, an example, the Giants may have $150 million revenue sharing, but they pay about a third of that into the coffers. So because of it, it all evens out. So now you're in a situation where your player personnel decisions are really what's most important, not your, not how much money you have and how it's where you spend that money. And certainly if you're a team like the Dodgers or the Yankees with a $200 million payroll or more, essentially you have room for more mistakes. When you have a $100 million payroll, you have less. And a team like the Royals has made, good decisions over the course of time in building their team. And they've been lucky, too, where, they haven't been killed by a lot of injuries, which can really decimate a team with a lesser payroll. So to answer your question, the Astros, for all their Michigas, they've got a good young core of players there, and they did much better this year than they did last. They're probably a team that, if everybody stays healthy, is going to be coming in the AL West, and may even displace the A's, who have like 8 free agents now, and their window may be closed because Billy Beane has traded away most of their young players for part-time players that they could platoon there with a chance to win now. So those are the teams like the Astros that are pretty much coming.
All right. Again, speak with MLB.com's Barry Bloom. Mr. Bloom, last question for you. We know you're very busy in preparation for Game 3 of the NLDS. Let's talk about, at the end of the day, as much fun as baseball is, as much we like baseball, it's a business. If we get a World Series, let's say, of the Royals and Giants, as compared to last year when we had Boston and St. Louis, how much of a ratings buzz kill will that be for Major League Baseball? Or, again, are people looking into it too much? It's 2 solid teams. They're in the World Series. They're there for a reason, and it will be a good ratings spectacle anyway. So what are your thoughts, ratings-wise, if we get a World Series with less sexy teams, if you will?
I think people just look for a good World Series. The highest rated World Series in history is the Baltimore. Is the Atlanta Minnesota 7-game World Series
in '91.
In 1991,
right?
And that was because it was a great series that came down to the 10th inning of the last game before it was decided. A lot of this doesn't have much to do with media markets anymore. You could get a Los Angeles and New York, and everybody would say, well, more people are going to watch it just because of the markets. But a lot of this is locally market-driven. There's going to be, if Kansas City were to play, the Giants, you'd still have a lot of people regionally in those markets watching the games. And you might not have people in Miami watching those games. And in any event, it doesn't matter with a higher profile World Series. Say, you get the Dodgers-Orioles, which would be a higher profile World Series. Doesn't mean that people in Oklahoma or people in Chicago are going to be watching those games because their teams are not involved in it. I mean, I think where you look at it now is ratings are kind of, a strange breed, except for the NFL, which gets high ratings for even the most modest games. And certainly, the Super Bowl is the most watched event probably in the world, on Super Bowl Sunday. But really, you look at is the inventory of ad sales, are they sold out for the games on TV? And they are. What demographic is watching the games? I mean, Fox certainly uses it to promote its programs during the year, which, it's a big vehicle for them. And really, the regular season is kind of a lost leader to the postseason. And there's a lot of product out there with baseball that you can watch on so many different devices. Our leading being, MLB.com, our product during the season where, you can watch games for innings on your handheld and you're not necessarily watching it on TV. So how does that play into the TV ratings when you're following the game on a personal computer or an iPhone? All these things play into it, which I think really make the overall TV ratings meaningless. Whatever it comes down to, there's going to be a lot of people, watching the games, and and baseball is grossing $9 billion in revenue, which is pretty close to the $9 to $10 billion that the NFL makes. They're right there. So there's a lot of sponsorship money and a lot of people watching games.
All right, no one should be crying for baseball, certainly with those type of figures. Mr. Barry Bloom, always a pleasure here to have you on my show. Everyone check out his work on MLB.com. Mr. Bloom, we enjoyed the time, of course, and enjoy the game tonight. Thanks for being on the show.
Okay, and remember, there's no crying in baseball.
That's right. No crying in baseball or about baseball. That's for sure.
Right.
All right, thanks so much. Be well.
Thanks for having me on, Ari. Bye.
Right. All right. Barry Bloom saying Michigas. That's really all that you need to say about that one. All right, we're going to take a quick break. This is Louis Live on TLV1. All right, back here on Louis Live, we have some very exciting news in the world of rhythm gymnastics, and on the line to tell us about it is Mr. Jacob Vishnia. Jacob, welcome back to the show.
Welcome. Thank you very much.
Sure. Now, on Sunday, our national team in rhythm gymnastics did quite well. Tell us how they did.
Yeah, they did really excellent, and a big surprise. They finished the competition on the 5th place. In all round, it's a combination of 2 exercises, and they qualified also for the finals for each discipline by himself. And actually, with the exercise of the 10 clubs, they took the silver medal. It was a great achievement, a great exercise, and of course, second place silver medal in the World Championship. It's a huge achievement and great competition.
All right, now they win the silver on Sunday, and 3 years ago they won the bronze, just to give people some perspective. And what I'm curious about, there were a lot of security questions casting a shadow if the team was even get a departure for Turkey. How close was the team coming to not even going to the tournament?
Very, very close, because of the situation that was in Israel with the war that we had. Actually, the security in Israel didn't allow the team to go to Turkey, because in Turkey it was really, we know the situation. And we have really good luck, fortunately, that it was finished. The very bad situation in Israel was finished only a few days before. So slowly, day by day, the Shabak, the security of Israel, studied the situation again and again. And we were in a big contact with the FIG, the International Gymnastic Federation. It was really big situation that we will not be there because of the security. Unfortunately, at the last moment, it was okay, and the girls went there. Even they know that could be some problems, but at the end it was okay, and really was very quiet there. No problem. The Turkey react also regarding the security very well. And it was great pleasure to see the Israeli flag at the end on the top of the gym in Turkey with a silver medal achievement.
All right. Great stuff. Happy that the team was able to make it. Happy the team was able to win the bronze, and happy that you were able to come on the program tonight. Jacob, thank you so much for being on the show. And again, congratulations to the national Israeli Rhythmic Gymnastic team. Thank you again so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, that's going to conclude our episode of Louis Live tonight. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And, of course, thank you to our guests. We began the program with Maccabi Petah Tikva's PA announcer, Ari Roda, talking about it was probably a rumor that Maradona will be coaching the Palestinian national team. Then the Jerusalem Post's Gil Hoffman, who is 37, and he's older than me, but he says Peyton Manning is still doing quite well at his age. David Dewey Pick from EuroBasket, talking about there is a little extra pressure on David Blatt to coach the Cavs to the finals with the talent of LeBron James. And then we spoke with Noah Joseph about the Formula One race in Jerusalem. Contrary to popular opinion, it is not an official race and rather an exhibition. We then spoke with Jacob Vishnada about the Israeli national rhythmic gymnastics team. The team won the silver on Sunday, and we wrapped the program up with MLB.com's Barry Bloom saying that nothing is quite sure in baseball, and there should be no crying in baseball, no crying outside of baseball. And stay tuned for a lot of great programming and a lot of great stuff. But that's it for tonight. God bless and good night.